After those first 2 days, I had a choice to make. I could shirk back and do less activity and become discouraged. I could do the same amount of activity. What I decided to do was apply the greatest amount of pressure and effort when the going got the hardest. That's the key to winning.
We are monsters. Oh.
Welcome, PTP Group's halftime kickoff call. This is always a really exciting time of the year, to be able to go back and reflect, and dig those goals out that we all set out, what we set out to accomplish in 2024. I wanted to do this call last week, kind of at the kickoff of June, but we have a lot of people traveling, a lot of different things going on, so I had to postpone it for a week. But we're going to go over the numbers. I've got a pretty stacked lineup of people that are going to be speaking to you today. Everybody that you're going to see talk is multiple six-figure income earners in this business. And aside from Brad Schmidt, I know that none of you knew anything about insurance other than you didn't have any when we started this thing. So real excited about today's message. We're going to be talking about what we've got to do specifically and what it takes to make sure you hit your income goals by the end of the year. So a couple honorable mentions so far this month. Right now, top three. George, you're sitting in number 3, my friend. You got the 3rd spot so far month to date. Miss Kim Crosby, also a 6-figure income earner with us. You are inching up to that number, trying to battle Christian for the number 1 spot. So it goes George, Kim, Christian. So we love when Kim sneaks up and dethrones Christian. So we're all rooting for that. Everybody but Christian anyway. And he probably is too, because Kim's on his team. As far as June 12th, right now, submitted business into the insurance companies that you guys have done over $100,000 so far for the year. Okay. Mr. Mike O'Shea, George Roumell, Kim Crosby, Christian Pounder, and Brad. So you guys have all tracking for a pretty strong year. You're already over 100,000, and the first half of the year is always smaller than the second half. I'm real excited to see where you guys end up. All right, so most of you should be familiar with what these numbers mean, but any numbers you always hear, if they're brand new, we all start at a 70. So you can kind of do the math on that over here on the right side for personal production. Okay, so this is going to be uncapped submitted premium, what you guys have sent into the insurance companies in the month of May. Okay, Mr. Erwin Pearl, $2,151. Kyle Evans, glad to see you back on the board, my friend, $3,894. Stephanie Owens, $5,292. Mike O, Mr. Mikey O, you have got $5,450. New on the leaderboard, starting to be consistent. Jorge, man, congrats, Jorge. You sent in $10,464 last month. Definitely your best month so far because you're just getting started, but keep raising that bar high, my friend. George Roumell, $13,792. Myself, $16,627. Miss Kim Crosby, $20,244. Incredible month, Kim. $20,000. Mr. Christian Pounder, $52,257. And I see Brad over there because he knows he's got you. Check this out. This is insane, y'all. Brad Schmidt, there at the end of the month, snuck it in. $4,695,899 is what's showing on the board. So $4.6 million. And that is from what we call him the wizard. Our friend Brad Schmidt, who came into this business knowing more about insurance and probably has more initials behind his name. He's a complete expert. He's a master of his craft. I know a lot of you guys have done a lot of business with him. He has been so kind to even help us with the more advanced type of programs we don't know how to do yet if you're new. And he's opened his calendar to us and closed a lot of deals. I know Brad's put a lot of money in you guys' pocket. So like always, I always like to kind of kick it over and see what's happening in the retirement solutions. So Brad, man, kind of fill us in. I see you've obviously got some really exciting stuff going on. So, we're looking at the second half of the year. So
For sure, for sure.
Brad
Thanks
Schmidt,
for
everybody.
Thank you for having me on. And look, these numbers that you hear, they're not month to month this size. This is projects that take some time. And so going back to the beginning, as Nate was saying, I came here with some experience, and most of us have sales experience. And it's like anything. If you apply the program, apply the script and the consistency, you're going to be successful at it, whatever it is. But make sure it's something you love and believe in, because that's what's sustainable. So that's the difference between just selling something and pushing a product that you love. Please understand where I came from an insurance company. I was there doing exactly term policies, mortgage protection, putting in the work, understanding the ins and outs, and working with guys above me that had more experience that would take my clients to the next level. So I would open the door, sell them what they need, what I knew how to sell: mortgage protection, term insurance. I would call it termites because they're the little ones, but they can do some big damage. And I let these guys do the second half. And so I've now taken that chair over here with PTP Groups, that I'm doing a lot of work on phase 2 and 3. If we understand clients, in terms of their lifeline, a lot of what we're doing here on phase 1 is the protection phase. And that's awesome. And everybody has to go through the protection phase. We're protecting the mortgage, but there's more to be done for that client long term, right? It's not a one-time protection today. It's a 20, 30-year program. So you guys are doing the protection phase, but clients still, once they've protected their income, they've protected their house, their assets, their families, now they're working for the next 30, 40 years and that's the accumulation phase of their life, where they're stacking money, they're saving, they're putting it in retirement accounts so they can make it to the distribution phase when they retire. All that stuff still happens whether you're involved in their life or not. But my job is to come in after you've protected them, you've built rapport, you've showed them the importance of their human life value and their assets they've worked up for. I step in and start building relationships and carry that for the long-term play. I get it. We're all here for the transaction. We're here for the quick commissions, which is awesome. You should. But where I'm stepping in for agents that want to utilize myself is helping them do the accumulation and distribution. And so the big number from last month was a project that took about 4 years. So it doesn't happen quick, but it happens with maintaining relationships. But those relationships are important, and it starts with you as agents with other agents. Christian and I have a phenomenal relationship in respecting each other's craft and using each other with our clients. So when we're talking long term, it starts today with who you have in your arena. It starts with you having to do the right thing and protect your clients. So Nate's probably going to talk a little bit more about how we can work with each other, but really that's kind of the big picture. I've been in this industry probably about 6 years, and I've just put in my time and put in where we have to come in. And, I've learned and earned my way to this position, but I work with a lot less, but I work with a lot bigger, and they take a little bit longer. I think, Nate, if you look at year-to-date submissions, this is probably going to bug you, but there's only been 36 deals I've submitted this year.
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with what you do, and hey, we all love what you do, because I know I'm not the only one that has gotten some extra deposits that have snuck into my account, after making an introduction to you. And guys, then thanks, Brad. Man,
Sure.
You're awesome. I appreciate everything that you do for us. You're such an asset to the team, and I know we're all very excited to have you, and really appreciate you a lot. If you're new, and a lot of you are, when you're talking to me, I'm only usually talking about two things, right? Like, first rule of being in business is staying in business. So I'm wanting to help you get consistent cash flow and be in business to begin with, because all of these things, but I do want you to know there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more down the road waiting for you, but it won't matter if you're not in business. All of these things, and it's not uncommon to get a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 deposit for doing one of these SDICs that Brad helps you with. I mean, my last one was $19,300 deposit for one case, but that is not so predictable, and it's a byproduct of being in business to begin with, having clients to begin with. So that's what the main focus is always going to be, is going out in the beginning, mastering your cash flow, mastering booking an appointment, sticking to a schedule, a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But after you get your first couple contract raises, a lot of that will open up to you, and you'll have access to Brad's calendar. You can book somebody directly into his Calendly link if you are interested in that, or just reach out. And I would advise you, like you said, relationships. He might build a relationship over 3 or 4 years, and then boom, one day have a $250,000 commission. So it's crazy talk, but he builds long-term relationships. If I'm you, I would be wanting to build a relationship with Brad, like Christian has. I would want Brad to know who I am. I would want him to, coach me up on how he wants me to, make that introduction, because it can be extremely profitable as a secondary source of income and a second, income stream on top of the major things you're focused on. So thanks, Brad. Next, I'd like to bring up definitely the coolest dude on our team. I've known George. George was actually one of the first people that believed in me. And whenever we first kicked this thing off, and it made no sense at the time, I was in a bad place, but George we've rocked together. It's been a heck of a ride, heck of a journey. So George, man, we're talking about, I mean, hey, it's halfway through the year. Maybe share some tips on where your mindset's at, what you're focused on. Are you reflecting on and making adjustments? Kind of share some things with us that whatever's on your heart that you think you would be helpful. George Roumell, everybody.
Thanks, man. You can hear me okay, right?
Yep.
A lot of you can see I'm on the road today, as I am a lot of times, because to be successful in this business, you have to be consistent. To go back a little bit, yeah, Nate and I have been together since the beginning. I just believed in the system, and I believed in what Nate was doing, and I really just didn't question anything. I just did it the way they told me to do it, and it was very successful. And then I got too smart, and I started doing it the way I thought, it should be done. And then when I about starved to death, I decided maybe I ought to just go back and do it the way that I was taught to do it and stick to it to a T. And lo and behold, I was able to, to make a multiple, 6-figure income just following consistently the way that we've refined this process down. People like Christian who have honed down the remote part of the business to where it's a well-oiled machine. But for the people that are newer, you really just got to kind of put blinders on and just really follow the way the system was designed, because a lot of really good people have shined this thing up and made it better and better. So all you have to do is really plug into the system. And it works, and it's been working for a long time, and it's been designed by some of the best in the industry.
George, can I ask you something? So curious to your thoughts on this. The difference of breaking even on a run or a big profit margin. Have you noticed that many times it comes down to maybe those last few appointments at the end of the run, or those last few dials that you might not have wanted to make at the end? Can you share the first thing that pops into your head maybe about that? Maybe a time you were on the road that you found the profit margin to be the difference of breaking even and coming back, driving back home with the difference of making $3,000 and $6,000 in a week. Anytime that happened during that, going that extra mile at maybe the end of the day or the end of the week. Do you have anything that pops in your head that you can share with us real quick on that?
Well, yeah, and right away, what kind of drives that is, you have a weekly goal, okay, of what you want to write every week. You want to know how much you want to make per year. You need to know how much per month, per week. I know I got to keep calling. I got to keep setting appointments until I get the minimum amount of applications I need a week. And if that means it's later in the week and I still haven't hit my number, I may have to get back on the phone. I may have to plug in an extra day, but I'm going to get mine no matter what. But an experience that I had last night is kind of where Nate's at. I've got a goal to hit this week, and I was dialing yesterday. I did some remotes yesterday, and I had a lady cancel on me. So I got right back on the phone, started dialing, got a hold of a guy that's canceled on me twice. And he said, hey, if we can do it right now, I'll do it. This was at, nearly 8 o'clock at night when I got a hold of this guy. Hey, I got an opportunity to add another policy to my week. I'm going to take it. But yeah, the way that it works for me a lot, some weeks I can't do anything wrong. Some weeks I can't do anything right. But I know at the end of the month, if I'm consistent in my activity and if I am intentional and I make my dials and I set my appointments, the numbers, you can't beat the numbers and the numbers can't beat you in this business. And thanks you guys for getting on the call today. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely, George. Wouldn't want to do it without you, my friend. Perfectly said, George. Man, couldn't have said it any better. And that is a common denominator of you'll start to see a mindset of the people that make it happen. George has been top 20 in the nation, in the country, many years. Multiple six income. He is just very consistent, and that's the mindset. That's the mindset of a top producer. So thanks, George, man. You're gonna see a little bit of that, continuing. I got good news and bad news. To change, like a lot of us are trying to change our situation, whether it be financially or just lifestyle, being able to, enjoy the things that we want to do without worrying about our checking account balance, right? It's not so much about insurance. It's about insurance is extremely profitable. The system's extremely profitable, and it's consistent. So it's the best vehicle to get us to the lifestyle and to the major goals that we have, which is why we're not really spending a whole lot of time dialing in on, insurance terminology. This is a business, and we can help that can follow a system create profit margin. And if you can create a profit margin and do that consistently, then now you know what to do outside of that. But the good news is, like, the things that you actually have to do, the tasks, they're easy to do. The bad news is they're easy not to do. But it's the consistency either way that create the outcome. Like the labor of what we do. I grew up in Pelahatchie, Mississippi on a farm. I know about hard work. I've done insulation, thrown hay, framed houses, like everything that you can think of labor wise. And the labor here, it's not hard labor. Like if you think about it, we say words, right? We say words with our mouth, and then we have to write words down and we type words into keyboards, right? That's the labor intensive side of what we do. But it can be tough initially if you don't have the right mindset. So that's why we talk about mindset so much, because even though the labor is easy, it can feel hard. It can feel tough because you're discouraged. And when you're discouraged, you can't quite hit the button on the phone again to make another dial, right? And nobody wants to do business with someone that is discouraged, right? They don't want to count on you to take care of their family. They don't want to be in business with you. So we spend a lot of time working on the mindset. That's the fundamental, is the mindset. That's what makes it not hard. So, that's perfectly set up for I like to think of this guy's our mindset coach, because Christian has worked on his mind. Watch Christian work on his mindset. He's constantly feeding himself, and it shows, man. He's top income earner, he's top producer every year on the leaderboard. I won't embarrass him by saying how much money that is, but it's a bunch. And I'm pretty sure he likes his lifestyle. So, Christian, man, please share some stuff with us, buddy. I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody getting on. Getting on something midday is never convenient. So, it takes effort to do this. And you mentioned the labor part. Look, we're laboring with different tools than our physical assets. Manual labor, that's one type of labor. That's really the easiest type of labor. And I'll tell you why. Laboring with your body doesn't really take a lot of mental work. So you go out, you do a manual job, you show up, you do your job. Not a lot of mental work you have to put into it. right? You know what you got to do. You're cutting grass, framing houses, whatever. This job is more mental work. That's why we get paid more doing this, is because it's harder to do mental work, the self-discipline, the self-development, the decision, promptness of decision, the courage it takes to overcome your fear, the consistency you have to develop, the proper habits you have to develop. All that is mental work. That's hard work. It just takes place on the inside. And that's why we get paid so much to do it, because most people aren't going to do it, and it is hard to do. It's just a different form of labor. But to Nate's point, look, this business, once you do the work up front mentally, the execution part becomes easy. So what does that mean? Well, first you have to know exactly what you want. You have to know what it is you're going after. You have to have a very specific target, or else your thoughts are going to be all everywhere. You have to have a very specific target, because what that does is it allows your thoughts to hone in on this desire or this target, and then you start concentrating on it. And then what that does is that then directs you to achieve what you're thinking about or what you're focused on. So you got to know exactly what you want, whether that's, I want to issue 10 grand this month, I want to issue 20 grand a month, I want to earn this much. You got to have something. It may change, but the principle remains the same. You got to have something you're shooting for. Once you have that, then you have to make a plan. So you say, okay, I want this. That's your desire, but then you have to make a plan to attain that. So that's going to take mental work. You're going to have to sit down and really think. See, thinking, you're going to have to think. Thinking is tough work. So you're going to have to get a desire, sit down, make a plan. You're going to have to think it out. How many leads do I need? What do I need my schedule to be? You're going to have to really write it out. But once you get that plan clear, the execution part becomes easy. All the upfront labor has been completed. You got your desire, you know what you're going after. And then you make a plan, you know what road you're going to take to get there. You'll make adjustments in your plan, but you got to have one to start. And then the next step is you put your plan into action. This is it. This is where you start dialing. This is where you start setting on appointments. This is where you start doing referrals to Brad. This is where you get the wheels rolling. You get in motion. And then once you're in motion, all it is just staying in motion, not stopping your activity. If you need to make adjustments, which you will, you make adjustments. You sit down. That's why it's very important to track your numbers and to create data. Once you have numbers, the business does become predictable. But if you don't have any data, you really don't know what adjustments to make. So what you want to do is you want to track your dials, your contacts, and your appointments booked. That's your first set of data you need to track. When you have that data for 60 to 90 days, we can then look at that and say, okay, there is a trend here. If nobody's answering the phone, we need to call it a different time. If people are answering that phone and you're not booking appointments, we need to get better on your phone script. We need to get better on the phone. If you're getting a lot of appointments and you're getting no-showed, we need to get better at tying it down, or you're strong arm people into an appointment. We have to work on that. So that's why data is so important. So it allows you to actually make adjustments on specific things. And this stuff is you got to get very specific on your process. So once we track our data, we make adjustments. And then what you do is you come out and you implement those adjustments and those changes. And what you'll see is as you implement those different things, once you get coached and you make changes, your results start to change. So it's a very simple process, but it does take work. Once you do all those things, all you got to do is just keep doing the same things, okay? What you will find out once you do that is, once you create a habit, you no longer have to make a decision day by day of what you're going to do. The habit then takes over, and that frees your mind up to be more creative and more powerful in its thinking capability. And you can execute better on everything because your habits have now become automatic, to where now my thinking isn't, am I doing this or am I not doing this? If you have to sit there and make a decision every day to keep doing it, that wears you out. Am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? That's exhausting. Make the decision one time, formulate a desirable habit. You have to exert your willpower in the beginning until that habit is completely established. But once that habit is established, it will take over and act automatically on your behalf. And then once you do that, you can create another habit. That's all this is. You just want a good group or combo of these positive habits to drift you where you need to go. And then your mind is free to do what it needs to do in other areas.
Mindset of a top producer, bleeding through again. Christian, same thing that I asked George, and we've seen this play out with you a couple times over the past couple weeks where, you know, you had made a post about sometimes it's a 12-round fight. Sometimes you don't win it to the 12th round, you know, and I guess you had a premonition of that week, or you just spoke it into existence. Maybe you should wait till after you run your appointments to say something like that. You're like, hey, sometimes it's a 12-round week, and then you every day you're booking 6 appointments, getting smoked, you know, and then right there, the last day or two, you just triple up, you know, 10 grand, 11 grand for the week at the very end.
Well, as far as my message, it wasn't premature in the fact that I've been around long enough and I got a feeling about stuff, like based off of how my first 2 days went. I knew how it was looking. So I knew it was going to be a fight, but here is the secret, and here lies the secret. After those first 2 days, I had a choice to make. I could shirk back and do less activity and become discouraged. I could do the same amount of activity. What I decided to do was apply the greatest amount of pressure and effort when the going got the hardest. That's the key to winning. So the only way to success is through adversity. See, here's success, here's adversity. You're on your road. Most people will hit adversity and go the other way, thinking that success is somewhere else. The only way to get to success is to go through adversity. Listen, why is it set up like that? You'll have to talk to somebody else besides me. I don't know, but that's the setup. That's how God made things. It causes you to grow. Growth can only come through, struggle and resistance. So you go through adversity. But when you hit adversity, the only way to get through the adversity successfully is to apply a greater amount of effort. Apply an extraordinary amount of effort. That is the formula. Hit adversity. When the going gets tough, that's when you apply the greatest amount of effort. That's how you're going to blast through it and win.
Do y'all hear him start sparking up a little bit whenever it's not based on, he's not sparking up and getting excited about what he's talking about based on a result that he created. I can feel it in his voice when he starts talking about going through the adversity, like going through the challenges that I feel like makes you you get more fired up about that, because so like, what do you take pride in as far what makes you feel like I'm the man, put me on the phone with anybody, anywhere, anytime, I'm gonna close them? Where does that stem from? What do you is that where your pride comes? Like, is that something? Not, and when I say pride, I mean the good kind of pride, not the kind in the Bible that turns you bad. That makes you feel like, yes, bring it on, resistance mode.
The best thing about this business is it's also the hardest thing about this business, what I just talked about. It's not even necessarily the result. The money's great, okay? The money's good. You got to have, it takes a lot of money to have a good lifestyle. There's no way around that. Okay, that's simple. We got that. But if your wealth or your riches is in money alone, you're broke, okay? The greatest assets are the intangible assets. It's the person you become in the process of going after your goal. So the best thing, the greatest thing I love about this business is also the hardest. It's when times get hard and you feel discouraged and you feel like the world's coming against you and you don't see it getting better. And then you apply that effort and you exert your will over that adversity. And then you come out on the other side a winner. That is what I love, to be able to look myself in the mirror and know that if you do right, there's nothing in this world that will ever take you out for good. That's my favorite part.
Christian, as always, give the mic to Christian Pounder. Thank you for, your leadership. Thank you for setting the bar high and showing us all that it can be done. You can learn to manage your schedule. You can get better. Like the insurance companies pay us extremely well, but they pay us extremely well for being good at what we do. And what we do for them, what they need us for is distribution, right? They're good at everything that they do. They are terrible at getting their product from their ivory tower in New York or Omaha, Nebraska, out to County Road 110, Sevierville, Tennessee, or wherever, right? So that's what they pay us for. That's why if you look at the contract, yeah, it's very black and white. You know, the more business you send them, the more valuable you are to them. So the more they pay you. Like that's where our value comes in, the quality of business we can create and the quantity of that business. But they also understand they've been doing this a while, right? They're A-rated billion-dollar companies, been in business for over 100 years. They also understand how it works. And they also know that, you know, even if you are so time slotted and have worked on yourself and done so much self-development to be able to do what Christian Pounder does, and still go to the gym and cook 2 meals a day and everything that he does, they still know that if you're one person, if you get sick or something happens to you, that production goes down. So that's why the other side of the incentive for them is they incentivize us to get into management or at least leverage this business model to scale. And even like a 3 or 4 or 5 man crew that you're running, it gets a lot more fun. If it was just me and I didn't get to do this with Christian and George and Stephanie, and you know, like it wouldn't be that fun, right? It really wouldn't. So it's fun for one, but they also pay us a lot more for that because they understand that if I get sick or I get in a car wreck, all the business that I send them is going to stop. But since it's not just me and we all work together, so we're heavily incentivized for distribution, and more than one person is more distribution. So, you know, I want to just plant the seed, take advantage of model that we have that is incentivized paying $1,000 bonuses the 15th of the month. Starts at 1,000, 3 writing agents. I'll talk to them. You need me to call somebody? I'll put them on here. I'll get them in school. We're paying full pre-licensing course tuition, which is the most expensive part of the licensing process. The most expensive part is the school. It costs a few $100. We're paying that in full right now. So take advantage of that. You have to take advantage of an opportunity in the lifetime of the opportunity. Our marketing partners are not always going to be this incentivized for expansion mode. We're expanding right now, and we're wanting to promote people from within, right, that have been following our system and help you grow a business of whatever size. But only 3, pretty nice, pretty sweet. You get a spread and you get a bonus, and your bonus goes up from there. They're paid out on the 15th of every month. So take advantage of that. In closing, I want to share a couple things with you. So there's so much talent. We've got so many people that are brand new coming on, going through contract, I think like 17 or something right now. And I'm not good at a lot, but I am pretty great at identifying talent. That's one of my, it's one of my strong suits. Something I've worked on for a while. But what I'm not good at, nor do I expect to be good at, is like motivating people, right? So if you're here for motivation, sorry, but that's probably not going to happen. However, if you give me somebody that's got a strong desire, we've got a platform, we've got a blueprint. You know, if you've got a strong desire to change your lifestyle or financial situation and be able to enjoy the stuff you like to do without worrying about money, we've got a blueprint to do that. For those that want to put in the work and those that want to get good at an extremely profitable business. But like I said, the insurance companies pay us extremely well for being really good at what we do. They didn't start paying me extremely well until I was really good at what I do, which is why we spend so much time doing this, getting on calls, editing videos, showing you live sales footage. That is so you can get really good as fast as possible to where you can start achieving the results. But the toughest part of my job, the toughest part for me is seeing people that have just incredible talent not getting the results that they want, and like I said to Christian, and he touched on some of this that I didn't tell him what to talk about, but it just bleeds out of him because it takes this mindset to get those type of results. Almost everybody does almost enough. So, and whenever it's on the leaderboard or whenever it's in band or whatever, that's when it's black and white and it's tangible. You are only a few more appointments from writing $3,000 this week to $6 or $7,000, right? If it's at the end, I can't tell you how many times 7 appointments, you're going to write 3 or 4 apps, but with 10 or 11 appointments, you're going to write 5, 6, 7 apps so many times. So I want to make sure. My biggest fear is somebody that is putting in work and you think that you're doing what it takes to win and you're not winning. That's going to make you discouraged. So everything has a price. My job is to help you with the plan, right? And support you. Your job is to look at that model and that plan and say, well, that's a good deal for me or not. This is a conversation I would want to have and get paid $700 or $800 or not, right? This is something that I want to get good at to earn this kind of money or not. But it comes down to an action plan. And so many times whenever I see someone set up their action plan for a business, this business or any business, it's why most businesses fail, but in this business specifically, when they set up their action plan of the activity that they need to make to accomplish it, they set up their plan to where everything's going to go perfectly. Everyone's going to answer. They're all going to be healthy. They all want to talk to you. No one gets called into work. And that's just not how it is. So right now we've got 27 weeks left in this year. If you want to know the cheat code, if there is a cheat code, it's Saturdays. People are home Saturday morning. I really encourage you guys to take advantage of that, especially you part-timers. Take advantage of the Saturday morning dials, get in, write whatever you can on Saturday and be done for the weekend, and then let everything roll over to Monday, right? For you full-timers, don't work Friday. Come in, do your pending, make a couple calls, right? And I'm out of here by noon on Friday. Don't talk to me Friday, but I'm gonna hop on Saturday morning and kick the week off. So that's the hack if there is one. But if you're new, like Christian said, you have to have to make a specific plan, you have to have data, you have to have numbers. So if you're brand new, right, Tyler, here's the game plan, buddy. Over the next 2 months, you track everything. Massive action, just as much as you can do, but you have to track everything. Now, in 2 months, and if you do enough activity, it doesn't matter what your skill set is, you're going to accidentally close apps. You'll probably close enough apps to get your first contract raise. You only got to do 5 in a month. 2 months in a row, you go to 75. But as long as you're keeping actual real data, then at the end of those 2 months, you look at your numbers. Now your skill set will increase, so your numbers will change, but you look at your current numbers and you set a realistic down to the data action plan based on those numbers. But you got to keep in mind the profit margin is in that extra mile. It's that extra 20, 30 dials you don't feel like doing because you feel like you're getting your butt kicked. So you got to be spending time working on yourself. That's why Christian's always reading. That's why we're always reading, because the mindset is the other part of it. Here's what I want to finish with, because this is important. When I'm talking about people stopping right before they get something good, we see it on the leaderboard. It's in black and white, but it also happens when you're running an appointment, because I've seen this so many times. I've been coaching a lot of new people and they're doing everything right. And then whenever they're in that appointment, George, they get right up to the why and they skim around it. Right. And so then like they got 6 appointments and they don't write anything, but then there's all these reasons why, yeah, they wanted it, whatever, like something happens and it doesn't go through. Like they didn't, it doesn't close. And that's because in the appointment, which is not tangible, which we can't see, is they're getting right up to it and then slacking off and pulling off and not closing it. Here's why. And it applies to both things. Like if you're not getting the results that you want, or you're in a slump, anytime this happens, it's because there's a list of things that you have to do, but you don't want to do them, right? Like making phone calls, coming to the office and doing conference call. I didn't want to do this, right? Like the things that you have to do to achieve what you want. And there's all these tasks, making phone calls, going and running appointments, reading a book. You don't really want to do it, and you won't do it if the reason why, so whatever result you're chasing, like if I want to be able to go to Ireland for 2 weeks and still get paid and not do any, you know, if I want to be able to like have a lifestyle that I want, I've got to work hard and I've got to do these things. So if the reason why I want that result doesn't outweigh the things that I don't want to do, then I'm not going to do the things. Okay. In an appointment, it's the same thing, because $80 a month is what the client doesn't want to do. They don't want to pay $80 a month. They don't want to pay $90 a month. They don't feel like doing it. They don't want to do it right now. They're going to put it off, whatever. Well, do they want their family to be homeless or not? So if the reason why their family being homeless or whatever's going to happen if they don't have coverage doesn't outweigh the reason of what they don't want to do, which is pay $80 a month or $90 a month, then they're not going to do it. So whenever you get into that situation, it's almost always back to the why. So what's going to happen? What does it look like? Because that has to be greater than what they don't want to do, which is pay $80 a month or give you their account or whatever it is. So it's always back to why. And it applies with everything. And if there's anything to take away, if you don't have data, your own data, if you haven't been running long enough, dialing, booking appointments long enough to collect some accurate data, then you can get a roundabout game plan, on our website, PTP Groups Info. There's a growth tracker here. Use for your to-do list and make sure you're hitting your reading goals. Like just try to read 2 pages a day, whatever it is. There's a blueprint for how to set a 90-day goal, which I would do over the weekend. You got 90 days, you got 2 90-day runs left. You got 27 weeks left in the year. Go through this, think about this, and then set an action plan. If you don't have your actual data to plug in here, like how many apps you submit versus how many issue, then use this placement rate. If you don't have your average application per app, then use this one and be conservative. So use 1100, but use this if you don't have one. But I highly encourage you to be tracking everything, take massive action right out of the gate, have a plan, stick to the plan. Have a plan, stick to it, run the plan with consistency. And if you do that, then we'll see you on the leaderboards. Look forward to seeing y'all there. Y'all have a good one.